chapter 3, verses 16 to 25. Evam prabhasitam chakram nanuvartajati kayaha aghayurindriya ramaha mogham partasa jivati yasvatmarasi revasyat आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि यद्यथाचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तदेवेतरो जनः स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते न मे पार्थासि कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यं वर्तयेव च कर्मणि यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोकाः न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् शङ्करस्य च कर्ता स्याम् उपहन्यामि मा प्रजाः सक्ता कर्मण्य विद्वांसः यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्यात् विद्वांसता सक्तः चिकीर्षु लोकसङ्ग्रहम्.
Man's natural infatuation with the senses. A human being's natural infatuation to the senses results in a meaningless living, a pointless living. That is what he says as a vainful life, a life in vain. The senses are designed very different, no? Very different it is. The senses are designed for registration, for perception. The senses that are naturally designed for registration, perception, is abused or overused or misused, whatever word you want to use, you can use, resulting in a life of a vain, resulting in a sinful way of living. A sinful way of living means an agitated way of living. And this agitated life and this agitated life is because where there is a hope of happiness, and when that happiness is not, where there is a hope for happiness, when that hope gets devastated, there is agitation. The hope for happiness implies that there is no happiness now. The hope for happiness implies that in the present there is agitation, happiness is going to be in the future. This is what he calls as a sinful way of a sinful life, an agitated life. The senses are designed for the senses are designed for registration of perception. Where there is no registration of perception, there is no life. So senses have to be alive in order to register the perceptions. The senses இப்போ கரெக்டா இருக்குதா? இங்க இப்போ கரெக்டா இருக்குதா? கரெக்டா இல்ல. Again, என்ன சொன்னேன்? From the beginning. Man's natural infatuation with the senses. Why there is this natural infatuation with the senses? The natural infatuation with the senses because the first point of contact is happening always through the senses. You don't contact anything through the subtler aspects of the personality directly. The first contact always happens through the senses. And the senses has a natural tendency for pleasant and unpleasant, to seek that which is pleasant and avoid that which is unpleasant. It's natural. You smear honey on the infant's tongue, there is a pleasure you can see. You smear neem oil on the same next day, a child's tongue, immediately you see a frown. It doesn't know anything, it does not experience anything in life, but still what you understand, the senses has a natural attraction to go towards that which is pleasant and avoid that which is unpleasant. It is natural for the senses to do that. It is so natural for the senses to do that. Again, what the human being does, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the senses drive him to contact the same thing again and again. Thereby, it quickly loses the capacity to enjoy itself. For the ability of the senses to perceive is very limited. When I say ability of the senses to perceive is very limited, it gets bored very soon, it gets frustrated very soon. In that sense, it is very limited. You can't keep looking at the same picture. For the eyes to function, you need to look at the variety. You just keep looking at the same picture, you will fall off to sleep. Anything done repeatedly, monotonously, in the same way, you will fall off to sleep. That's why after a while, it is very conducive to fall off to sleep here also. You know why? Not because of the disinterest or anything. It is designed in such a way that it is so repetitive. The same white sheet, wherever you go, you see the same white sheet, the same white, the same thing, the same person, the same tone, the same examples, the same stories. Whoever comes and speaks, what will happen after a period of time? It becomes kind of monotonous, it becomes a kind of a lullaby. You follow? Senses get bored very, very soon, very fast. But because of the natural infatuation to it, the natural infatuation meaning the instant joys that it is, the instant joys that it offers, the senses naturally rushes towards it. And the mind also cooperates with it, because it suits the mind. The mind also cooperates, because mind also has the same tendency. What is the same tendency? Avoid the unpleasant and court the pleasant. This is the tendency of the mind. Avoid the unpleasant and court the pleasant. The higher is unpleasant. Therefore, the mind can never naturally court anything higher. Because anything higher, it is unpleasant. Anything lower, it is pleasant. Anything higher, it is unpleasant in the sense. Anything unpleasant in the sense? Being disciplined. Correct. Anything higher, step number 1, discipline. Mind resists discipline. It naturally goes towards the areas of indiscipline, indulgence. That's why when a person is young and when the senses are alive, they rebel against any form of discipline. When you get old and when the senses become dull, the very dull senses sits quietly. Looks like discipline from outside. You follow? Again I repeat. When you are young, when the senses are alive fully, to tell that person, practice discipline, they will rebel and resist against all forms of discipline. They can't. Because when the senses are alive and the mind is also naturally supporting it, court the pleasant and avoid the unpleasant, there will not be a natural inclination towards discipline, higher. Because higher involves discipline. Number 2, higher involves sacrifice. It involves discipline, it involves sacrifice. Tell the mind to skip one meal. Skip one meal when you are feeling hungry. Yeah? If you have indigestion problem and skipping meal is not 3 days, 4 days, you overeat. Fifth day naturally you will tend to go towards fasting, or the way in which food itself will be cooked at home. ஒரு 4 நாளா ரொம்ப 4 days of too much of food. So 5th day only pepper, ginger, rasam only. Why? Let clean up everything so that you can start another round of indulgence. We are not talking about that kind of. We are not talking about that kind of discipline, where the senses are alive and to say skip. How difficult it is at the level of the senses itself. Then comes the mind. This combination of the senses and the mind revolts against discipline and sacrifice. He lives a vainful life. That's all he said. That life is waste, is vain. Because moga means lack of understanding. Delusion means lack of understanding. What is the lack of understanding? It's very simple. Lack of understanding means people come and complain. No one is there loving me, sir. When they say no one is there to love me, actually what are they saying? No one is there to love me, sir. No one is there loving me. What are they actually saying? That particular person that I want to love me is not loving me. If the driver comes and says, I love you, if the neighbor says, I love you, the person whom you can't stand comes and says, I love you, will that satisfy you? Will it be acceptable to you? It will not be acceptable. It will not be satisfying. So, what is moga here? What is delusion here? It's not that you want love. You want love from a particular person. All others loving you will have no meaning, will have no value, for it has to come from one particular person. But then moga is you don't understand it like that. Moga is you don't see it like that. You say just love, sir. It's not love. It is love from a particular person. Okay. That particular person loves you. Will you give the freedom to that person to love in the way that he wants? No. Love from that particular person in the way that I demand. Almost squeezing literally like you squeeze the person out. Moga. This is called delusion. Why it is delusion is because the understanding is not there. What is understanding? Am I seeking love or am I seeking something else? Am I complaining about lack of love or am I complaining about something else? Lack of resources, people complain. Lack of love, lack of resources. Delusion it is. Why it is lack of resources? It's never lack of resources, because all that is needed was provided even before you knew how to ask. Again I repeat, the divine has provided all that is needed for life even before we knew how to ask. We didn't even know how to ask, but it was all provided. That's why he gives his example. No, even before you are born, the temperature is maintained outside, the temperature is maintained inside. The milk is ready, this is ready, that is ready. You won't even know how to ask. Even before you knew how to ask, it is ready, available, provided for. Okay. And this provision is not rationed also. This provision is given to you in abundance. Therefore, whenever we complain about lack of love or lack of resources or lack of anything, it is moha. It is delusion. That is the moha of life. That's the delusion of life. The ignorance of life. That person lives a vainful. That person will live a life in vain. You follow? Why? Because it is available in abundance even before you knew how to ask. Ignorance of all these, the mind focus on. Ignorance of all these, the mind will focus where? The mind will focus on something which is which doesn't exist at all. For lack of resources, and then you ask, it will be provided. When it is already provided in abundance, when you ask, God will look at you and say, what are you asking? For it is already given to you in abundance. But the mind says, no. Are there affectionate people? Are there loving people in the world? Adanal enakku enna sir? That particular want love from a particular person. Someone comes and says, I love you, will you be satisfied? In fact, you will get scared. You will get scared. You will start attributing motives to that person. Why all of a sudden this? Something is cooking inside. Something is happening inside. Otherwise, why will this person come and love? And you run behind one person, and that person turns back and says, I don't love you. You get? This life will be an agitated life. That's all he's saying. You follow what is vainful life means? A life bereft of understanding will result in agitation. So, two deadly combinations. The combination of the senses and the mind naturally going towards the lower and bereft of knowledge is a vainful life. And what will happen to such a person? He will live an agitated life. Agitated life means a life of every human being is sitting on a time bomb. just that one thing that's going to happen or will happen is going to upset you from the very core, from the very root. If someone is not agitated, what does that mean? Explode agala. It has not hit. It is not yet exploded. Thank God it is not yet exploded. But everyone is sitting on a time bomb, as it were, ticking. What is that? The combination of the senses and the mind and bereft of understanding. This is what is called as moga, a life of a vainful life, a sinful life, an agitated life. Whenever you get agitated, learn this. Whenever you get agitated, whenever you are disturbed, the conviction about the divine, the conviction about the higher will go away. Only when you are joyful and blissful, understanding and pursuing the higher is possible. Again I repeat, when you are disturbed, when you are agitated, first thing that you will lose is a disturbed person, an agitated person. First thing that he will lose is what? Conviction in the higher. That's all. First thing that goes out is that. Peace, happiness, and textbook answer. So say from your experience, what happens to you when you are disturbed? The conviction in the divine, the conviction in the higher goes out. After a while you may pick up and come back to the higher. But even then, when you come back to the higher, one part of you has an experience. What is that experience? இதெல்லாம் ரொம்பலாம் ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆகாது சார். வேதாந்தா எல்லாம் கரெக்ட் தான், all that is saying, but then in practical situation sometimes it doesn't apply, no? Correct? It doesn't apply, no? He is saying correct also. Because it is the truth, it doesn't apply. How it will apply? For when you are agitated, the conviction in the higher goes. When the conviction on the higher goes, it's not that you stay there. Naturally you will be convinced about. When the conviction about the higher goes, you will be convinced about the lower. That's what in the deepest core they are worried about. In the deepest core they are worried about. Every time you go through a pain, a loss, a suffering, an agitation, your conviction goes in the your conviction will go, you will lose the conviction from the higher, and simultaneously you will develop a conviction in the towards the lower. Correct, sir. Today you understand. World in the kuda sila things are all important. The conviction to the lower will come. When things are all right, indulgences, when things are all right, indulgences. Because of the indulgences, when you go through a agitated life, the conviction in the higher goes. Whenever there is a conviction in the higher, it comes out of gratitude. The conviction towards the higher always comes out of an understanding, knowledge, gratitude. It never comes out of agitations. Okay, even relatively also understanding becomes simple. Even at a worldly level, you are really in need of something, you are desperately in need of something, someone comes and gives you that. instantly what happens? Instantly what happens? You become grateful. Divine says, I will not allow you to go through the difficulty also. Even before the situation comes, everything I have provided. The combination of mind and senses is oblivious to this fact. Runs behind the lower and get agitated. And in agitation, at the deepest core, every time you go through a loss. See, take a simple example. Suddenly someone closer to you is diagnosed with some deadly disease, or someone passes away, all of a sudden, first thing that goes out is what? You can never, first thing that goes out is what? The faith in the conviction in the higher. எனக்கு எதுக்கு சார் இப்படி ஆச்சு? As though divinity has to be your, as though God has to be your 24/7 policeman, and he fell off to sleep for a few seconds, and sorrow empty. You follow? Very, very difficult is to be convinced about the divine when you are going through sorrow and agitation. Don't misunderstand going to God when you are in sorrow. You are not interested in God when you go to sorrow. When you go to God when you are in sorrow, you are not interested in God. You are not interested in divine. You are interested in eliminating the sorrow. And someone told you, you go to this temple, you go to this God, it will be solved. Even as you are going, one part in you will keep saying, you will go. Even as you are going, one part in you will keep saying, will it? அதெல்லாம் நடக்குமா? ஒருவேளை ரொம்ப the proof of it is you go there and you negotiate the price with the priest, no? When you are negotiating the price with the priest, it is understood that you don't have any faith and conviction. If you have faith and conviction and he is doing something which your sorrow is going to be removed, will you ever negotiate? Will you ever bargain? The fact that you are bargaining and negotiating itself is an indication that you lack. You follow? You lack that. So that person is living a sinful life. He is bound to lead a sinful life. What is a sinful life? A life of frustration, a life of agitation, a life where can't trust anyone. These are all sinful lives. See, what are all the sinful, agitated way of living? Can't trust anyone. Everyone out there looks out as though they are ganging up against. They are ganged up against you only to cheat you and destroy you, rob you. Vedanta only has said, no sir, you have to be very careful. You are so careful. At the end of all the life of being so careful, you are not joyful and blissful. You are more doubtful, more agitated. Vedanta says, be careful. Now what is it saying? Don't be impulsive. That's all it's saying. But then you will misunderstand it as something. You follow? What does a sinful life means? A sinful life is a life where you can't trust anyone. Why you can't trust anyone? Fundamentally, at the core, if you can't trust the divine, how can you trust anyone else? If you don't have trust in the divine, you can't trust anyone else. But I have trust in God, sir, but I have to be very careful with people around. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because you trust the divine. There is a divinity that shapes our ends, he says. There is a divinity that shapes our ends. How the divine provided everything even before you knew how to ask, even before you knew how to breathe, even before you knew how to crawl, how to turn, how to walk, how to talk. Everything is provided. There. Yeah. This understanding is a peaceful life, a joyful life. Opposite of that is a vainful life. A life of vain, an agitated life. All because of what? The combination. What is the combination? The combination of the senses and the mind and lack of understanding. This is moga. What does it result in? It results in an agitated life. What does agitated life means? An agitated life is where you can't convince yourself about the goodness of life. You don't have any conviction in the goodness of anyone around you, because you are the only one. I am the only one good, sir. No one is there except me. Who can be good? Trust in a person who has this conviction about the higher, who is understood about the higher. His life will be a joyful life. His life will be a joyful life, a blissful life. A joyful life, a blissful life, you can understand the futility very soon. That's where you find the kings becoming renunciates very soon. You need to have that kind of, see, when you are fulfilled and blissful and joyful, futility can be understood very fast. Futility can never be understood when you are in agitation and sorrow and frustration. Futility can never be understood. Have you ever seen anyone understanding the futility from that? In the Chandogya Upanishad, very beautiful statement. Ajatasatru, the king, tells Ajatasatru, the king is the guru there. We have not, at least we have heard about Janaka, no? We have not heard about these masters. Ajatasatru, the guru there, he tells the assembly of wise men. In the language of Upanishad, they call it as the assembly of Brahmins. The king is addressing the assembly of Brahmins, and he tells them, only a king can understand Vedanta. You people cannot understand. Only a king can understand. And quite a few from that assembly stood up and prostrated to him for this statement. All these that's why these Upanishads are so complicated, because just small anecdotes, small things like this. The beauty is what made a few from that wise assembly get up and prostrate. Futility can be understood only a person who can experience abundance. He has it in abundance, but that it has no relevance to his personality. It has no relevance to his living. He understands that. Therefore, he gets detached, he pursues the highest. He pursues moksha, he pursues liberation. A person pursuing moksha, liberation, is never out of a sorrow and frustration about the world. Is never because of the agitations about the world. You follow? Mumukshatva is not frustration about the world, agitated about the world. If that is mumukshatva, Everyone in the world has mumukshatva, no? Because everyone is agitated, frustrated about something or the others. Only then a Supreme Court judgment can give agitations. Something. So everyone, if that is what is mumukshatva, means everyone should have mumukshatva already. But then you see, no one is having. No one has this mumukshatva. What is mumukshatva? Relatively, how do you develop even that mumukshatva? That's what a meaningful life is. Vainful life is a life of no mumukshatva. A meaningful life means a life of mumukshatva. And how do you get that mumukshatva? Only when you experience abundance, and that abundance exposes the futility. Genuinely, you find the kings becoming renunciates. Actually speaking, the poor should become a renunciate, no? The fellow who has nothing should become a renunciate. That will never happen. But then, chances of the king becoming a renunciate is, king means what? Not the position of the king. The king means, the kingly life means a person who has everything in abundance, and yet he misses something in life. And yet he understands that there is something that is vital that is missing. So he leaves everything behind and pursues the self. Are you able to follow? When something is meaningful in life, when something is attractive in the world, you can never pursue the higher. In order to pursue the higher, what you need to do? You need to understand that it is available in abundance. Understand the principle. Anything in abundance, you will lose the value. Give even before the child has reached 2 years. Buy 3 full carton box of toys and give it to the child. And where the child will come, where the child will go? The child will go into the kitchen and it will play with. It will play with the kitchen spoon, kitchen things. Why? Because for the kitchen things only the mother is saying, don't. Toys and why can't you go there? It is anything in abundance, it will lose its. That's why God has given everything in abundance, so that you can understand the futility and go to the highest. That's why God has given everything in. But then the mind doesn't. The combination of the senses and the mind will never allow the understanding to happen. What is understanding? It is available in abundance, and how much ever it is available in abundance, how much ever you are contacting it, enjoying it, something is missing. Something is lacking. Something is missing. Everything is there, but you feel that you are missing something which is so vital, which is so important, which is so gives you that sleepless night. That is called mumukshatva, a meaningful life. Opposite of that is a vainful life. He lives a life in vain, O Partha, who living in sin and rejoicing in the senses. This combination. Living in sin and rejoicing in the senses. Through knowledge and understanding, you through knowledge and understanding, you know that it is in abundance. The moment it is there in abundance, you lose. Even relatively speaking, when can you be charitable? When you can give, when you can share. You can share, you can give only when you think you have more. EMI is already. That person, how can that person even consider any? How can that person conceive of any charity? You have to pickpocket this. You have to steal from that fellow. You have to really, you can't. He can't give. Why? Because even relatively speaking, in order to be charitable, you need to experience abundance. And this experiencing abundance has got nothing to do with the quantity. It is to do with less desires or more desires. Again I repeat, this abundance has got nothing to do with the quantity outside. Abundance is to do with the quantity of the likes and dislikes. A person may have 100 crores and still feel poor. A person may have 100 rupees and feel rich. Because of what? If the quantum is to determine that, then it is a completely different exercise. Idella waste of time. All these lectures, classes, tapas, growth, Allah, waste of time. Simply go all out, increase your numbers, more the numbers, quickly you will understand the futility. It doesn't work like that again. Because the futility is in direct proportion to your likes and dislikes. Avvulu irukudhe sir avarkitta. Ask that man, he is not having, he feels that he is not having anything. You can't go and tell that, you can't go and say you have so much. No. It doesn't work. Because beyond a point we can't conceive. Beyond a point we can't. Like the maid servant comes to you and asks. Always understand this, sir. The maid servant will never come and ask you for 50 lakhs, 5 crores. Will she ask? Even if you give it to her, she will not know. You know that? What she will come and ask you? 5,000 only. See, that's where the divinity is. It kept it so beautiful it is. So wonderful it is. It cannot give 5,000. And 5,000, according to her, is not a big money for you. That's why she is coming and asking you. 5,000 rupees, sir. You deny. She will go back thinking, what is that man's problem? That he is not having? Same thing which you think in relation to someone at that level. He has 100 crores, no. What is his problem? You go and ask him only. He will say, he will say, I need, because rotation I need for this afternoon rotation I need. Leave a few lakhs and go, maybe I will give it to you next week. Abundance has got nothing to do with quantity. Abundance is to do with your likes and dislikes, demands. So through tapas, through knowledge and understanding, you reduce your demands, you reduce your likes and dislikes, you experience abundance, and in and through that abundance, something vital is something vital is missing, something vital is missing. You start chasing that, you start exploring that, you are ready to do anything to experience that. That life is a meaningful life. That life is a purposeful life. Opposite of that is a vainful life. He lives in vain, O Partha, because of this deadly combination. What is the combination? Living in sin and rejoicing in the senses. Rejoicing in the senses, no? The combination of the senses and the mind. Sinful life means life of moha, delusion. Combination of senses and mind and the bereft of understanding, knowledge. That life is a vainful life. Having described this, the next 2 verses, 3 verses is going to talk about the man who lived a vainful life and what is he experiencing. He has explained what the vainful life is experiencing. Now he is going to explain that man who has changed his way of living, attained the highest. What is it that he is experiencing? What is it that his life is? The next 2 verses, 17.
Yasvatmarati devasya atmatristascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Yasvatmarati devasya atmatristascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate.
But the man who rejoices in the self, is satisfied in the self and is content in the self alone, for him there is nothing to be done. But the preceding verses, not just the previous verse, all the preceding verses talks about, or he was trying to explain the importance of doing one's obligatory duties. What happens to such a man who has been doing his obligatory duties? Nothing to be. A time will come where for him nothing, for him there is nothing to be done. The man who rejoices in the self, is satisfied in the self and is content in the self. Again and again and again he uses the word Atma, Atma, Atma. Atma means the self. Three distinct ways of happiness is what the individual seeks. One is through the body, another is through the mind, another is through the intellect. Three distinct ways. You go to a debate club. Which equipment in you is entertained? The intellect in you is entertained. That's entertainment in a debate club. Even in a classroom like this, which equipment of yours is entertained? Intellect. Predominantly speaking. Yeah. Intellect dana fan and off AC and off what latter. Predominantly speaking. That's what we are saying. You go to watch an emotional. Another kind of enjoyment that we seek is through the mind, through the emotions. Another kind of enjoyment that the human being seeks is through the body, the senses. All these three distracts the vision from the Supreme Self. It is a distraction. Distraction means attention is shifted. When the child is studying, you say, don't get distracted, no? The child is studying and you put the music in full volume. Child will get distracted. So you switch off everything and tell the child, what? No distraction. Yeah. இன்னும் 4 மாசமா இருக்குது இல்ல 4 மாசமா 6 மாசமா 4 மாசம் தான் இருக்குது இல்லையா 4 months is there. எங்க வீட்லயும் அதே கதை தான் 4 months தான் இருக்குது. That's right, no? Only for the exams. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. What is the distraction? Distraction means attention shifted to meaningless. Attention shifted to meaningless is what distraction is. You follow? It's not just a shifting of attention. If the child can shift the attention to something higher, you will not say distraction. No. So what is distraction? Distraction means attention shifting to something useless, something meaningless, something lower. Number 1. Number 2, distraction is not only you are shifting the attention to something lower, you are not doing that which you are ought to do. Two problems happens in distraction. That's why we say don't get distracted. Opposite of that is Shraddha. Whatsoever you do it with Shraddha, they say. What is Shraddha? Means opposite of distraction is Shraddha. Do it with whatever you do, it ought to be done with Shraddha. I am not getting into Shraddha now. He is only saying how the 3 kinds of distractions. What are the 3 kinds of distractions? The distraction through the body, the distraction through the mind, and the distraction through the intellect. All these makes you forget the divine. This man didn't get distracted like that, for he has attained the highest. For that man who has attained the highest, Arjuna, he has nothing to be done. The biggest relief in life is you have nothing to do. Nothing. That's what he is saying. For him, tasya karyam na vidyate. He has nothing to be done. For all doing is backed by a vasana. All doing is backed by a desire. There cannot be an action without a desire. This man being eliminated, this man having exhausted all his vasanas, for him nothing to be done. Nothing to be done. He is sitting in one corner like a piece of stone. No. He is rejoicing much more than he is joyful. He is blissful more than any one of us. Any one of those who are in ignorance, this man is joyful and blissful. Vainful life describe பண்றதுதான் கஷ்டம். This is very to describe vainful life only is difficult. This is very easy to explain. A contentment. The other side of contentment, 2 sides to the coin. The one side of the coin is contentment. The other side of the coin of contentment is self-sufficiency. He is so self-sufficient that he is contented. Contentment not because of any attainment. Contentment not because of any achievement. The contentment because of the other side of it, self-sufficiency. Two sides to the coin. What you see is what is contentment. The other side of the coin is self-sufficiency. Since he is so self-sufficient, he is contented. How to explain that self-sufficiency? He is saying, at the body level he is self-sufficient, at the emotional level he is self-sufficient, at the intellectual level he is self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency means, what is self-sufficiency? Self-sufficiency, relatively. I am not talking from Brahman. Any question I ask, all answers come from Brahman only. Yeah. Brahman gets confused. Relatively, what is self-sufficiency? Not seeking. Abundance, correct. Abundance, not wanting, not seeking. This is self-sufficiency. A self-sufficient man is a contented man, blissful man. That's what he means by contentment. He's santushta. He is all the time he is contented. The contentment is because of the self-sufficiency. In the world, the self-sufficiency is through acquisition and preservation. The worldly ways of self-sufficiency is always through acquisition and preserving what you have acquired. That is not self-sufficiency. The very acquisition and the very preservation itself indicates that insecurity. The very acquisition itself is insecurity. The very preservation itself is insecurity. This man doesn't have any of this. Understand contentment and self-sufficiency as two sides to the same coin. It becomes easy. Contentment not because of any achievement. Contentment not because of any. Contentment not because he is having. It's not the quantum of it's not the quantum. It is in relation to. It is in relation to the self-sufficiency. How does one become self-sufficient? Eliminate the desires. இதை விட்டா வேற பேசவே தெரியாதா சார் உங்களுக்கு? இது திருப்பி இதே சொல்லியிருந்தா is there anything? வேற ஏதாவது? any other solution? Any other method? எங்க போனாலும் சுத்தி you come back to he is coming back to the same point. He is totally self-sufficient. That self-sufficiency is because of eliminating the likes and dislikes. For likes and dislikes means, I have said it before, likes and dislikes. Technically, the root of likes and dislikes is vasanas. Vasanas means a sense of unfulfillment, void. Vasanas implies void. Desires implies void. Action implies void. This man has no void. He has no void. Likes and dislikes is nothing but a hope for happiness. What is desire? Likes and dislikes. Nothing but a hope for happiness. That's all desire is. Desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. If I get that, I will be happy. That's the hope, no? What does the hope for happiness means? If I get that, I will be happy. Out of 100 things you wanted, at least 70, 80 you got. It's not that you didn't get. See, supposing out of 100 things you wanted, you didn't get A single thing, now you would have become a Gautam Buddha already. The problem is, out of 100 that you asked, 70, 80 you got. But that 70, 80 doesn't bring about 70, 80% of satisfaction and fulfillment. Because the unfulfillment percentage remains the same, irrespective of that one thing that you don't get is enough is to keep the dissatisfaction alive in the same level. 100 things you got, 100 things you asked for. If you look at your own life, it's not that you didn't get anything, no. At one point of stage, you just wanted a car. You got a car. After getting that car looks like a dabba car. That is a different thing. But at that point of time, you only wanted a car. The car also came. The satisfaction didn't come. It came with a hallucinatory satisfaction. It came with a hallucinatory satisfaction. What is the hallucinatory satisfaction? What is hallucinatory satisfaction? Next day morning, 50%. Next day morning, you acquire something, you buy something, go to sleep. Next day morning, 50% is gone. Third day, literally nothing. Parking space patla sir. If there is some other problem starts appearing. You follow? Which is not contentment. This man doesn't experience contentment like that. His contentment is totally different, which we can't conceive of. Don't try to conceive of. Don't try to understand this. Don't try to conceive of. All that he is saying is, he is experiencing a different quality contentment. A contentment arising out of self-sufficiency. A contentment arising out of self-sufficiency. And the closest way that you can understand this, the beautiful example he gives all the times. What is your relation with the toys now? What is your relationship with the toy world now? Beautiful comparison, beautiful example. If that example is not given to us, we never understand. Beautiful example he has given. What is your contentment in relation to the toy world? You buy a toy, you lose the toy, it makes no difference. For the child it makes a huge difference, a lot of difference for the child. But for you it is no difference. And you will give a lecture on the futility of the toy to the child. The child will say, all that is fine, give me the toy. Like Ramatirtha says, it's like talking to the dog, he says. It's like talking to the dog about the futility of the bone. He gives it, he says it's like talking to the dog about the futility of the bone. After listening to the entire lecture, after understanding the entire lecture about the futility of the bone, as soon as the lecture is over, first thing the dog will ask is, where is my bone? Give the dog its bone, it's happy. Take the bone away, it is unhappy. It can't be self-sufficient. It can't be self-sufficient. You can't tell the dog, be self-sufficient. Even a human being can't be self-sufficient. You can transcend this and attain the state of self-sufficiency. What is that state of self-sufficiency? Where anything that is added, anything that is taken away has no meaning. All that he has already said. Apuryamanam Asalapratishtam. Verse number 70, chapter 2, he has already explained it. He is like a samudra. He is like an ocean. Waters rushing in or waters pumped out makes no difference. Makes absolutely no difference. For it is available in, for it is, abundance is not the word. Abundance is a very poor word. Abundance is a very short word. Purnam it is. Isavasya Upanishad calls it as infinity. That is the right word. Infinite is the right word. Since we can't understand infinite, I use the word abundance. At least abundance we can. Abundance of infinite na abundance is more clear. Sometimes we have to read the original text also, no? Yeah. Konar notes say Pachinda. It did not help, no. Sometimes you have to go to the original text also. No, how insulting it was. That man told me, sir, your class is like Konar notes, sir. Text allam puriyave illa, sir. Ana unga class notes irundada puriyu. I said, enna Shankar puri. Shankar na ivar illa. Inda Shankar illa. Avara paakadinga pavam. Avaru solla. Shankar neengala sonna? Konar notes, sir. Takkanu puriyirudhu. Takkanu puriyirada. Onnu puriyada adilla. You have seen those notes, no? Low quality print. Paper is of the third quality. Inside padche, outside puriyadu. You write your name, 4 pages will. For 5 pages it will. Abundance. Abundance is not the right word. Abundance alone Konar notes. The real word is Purna. Isavasya says Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva. It's Purna. It's Purna. It's Purna. It's Purna. That person who has experienced it, what joy he will get from anything in the world, what joy it will give to him, for he is already experiencing that Purnatva it is. It's the Purnatva where you can't take away anything. If you can't take away anything means you can't add also, or how much ever you take away doesn't matter. He is thoroughly contented. That's what he is talking. That's what this man is. Vis-a-vis to the previous verses. First he was saying, do your obligatory duty. Only by doing your obligatory duty you can come to the state. To the state of contentment you can reach only by doing your obligatory duties. And what happens to that man? One is he is self-sufficient. 2 wonderful qualities he is talking about in this verse. One is he is self-sufficient. Second thing is, for him there is nothing to be done. Why nothing to be done? Because he has already done the most impossible thing. He has already done. After that, what he can do? That's why he has no value for anything after that. For he has done the most impossible, the unimaginable, the inconceivable he has done. What is unimaginable? What is the inconceivable? What is the inconceivable? The inconceivable is eliminating the ego. How difficult it is to even relatively keep it under control is So difficult. For how it keeps coming again and again and again. And this man achieved it. After having done the impossible, what other things he has to do? He has nothing to do. Even if he is doing something, that's a play act. Even if he is doing something, he says, I am not doing. That's why you go to that wise man, he says, I am not doing. He always says, I am not doing anything. But you are doing so many things, equipments are doing. But I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. That state where actions are happening and he is completely detached from the actions. Number 2 is a self-sufficiency, a contentment. Okay, understand it like that, it becomes very simple. Most of the time you act out of what? Most of the, not most of the time. Every time action comes because you are agitated, you are frustrated, you are bored. You have to do something in order to keep you. Most of the times you do action only to keep you occupied, to keep you entertained. For if actions are taken away from you, you will go mad. So action is not done out of any value for action. Action is done just to keep your sanity going. That's why when there is nothing to do, the man at the age of 80-85 starts the person who never puts clothes in the washing machine will start washing the clothes, drying the clothes, folding the clothes. So we experienced most at the age of 70-75 will start doing all this. The same man would have never done any of this at the age of 30 and 35. Why? Nothing to do. And if you don't have anything to do, you will go mad. So actions doesn't arise out of fulfillment. Action arises out of, in the ignorance man's case. In the wise man's case, he has nothing to do because that unfulfillment is not there. That boredom is not there. That lack of self-sufficiency. That self-sufficiency is not there. Therefore, he need not do any actions. Even if he is doing an action, he says, I am not doing anything. It is the equipment that's doing. Why? Because I am self-sufficient. To a self-sufficient man, you can't give him anything and excite him. To a self-sufficient man, you can't take away anything and depress him. To an ignorant man, you give something, he is excited. Take away, he is depressed. That's all self-sufficiency is. Self-sufficiency is what? You give him anything, he doesn't get excited. You take away what he has, he doesn't get. Sorry, you could say, he doesn't bother. Why? Because he is self-sufficient. And this self-sufficiency is what will manifest as contentment. It is a self-sufficiency that manifests as contentment. So you see him being contented. What is happening inside of him? He is self-sufficient. The second thing is nothing to be done. For he has done everything. All that ought to be done is done. What is it that ought to be done? Eliminate the ego, eliminate the likes and dislikes. That's what ought to be done, and he has done that already. Since he has done that already, there is nothing to be done. Seriya? போன ஞாயிற்றுக்கிழமை எங்க அப்பாவோட 6வது ஊனமாசிக சிராத்தம். அங்க வந்துட்டு சாப்பிடாம போட்டு இங்க பண்ண முடியாது. தெளிவா இருக்கு.